flash, bright like a roaring fight. Crypto dreams under stadium lights. Sweat and fire, hearts ignite. Evening sports buffet, with the Ginch replay.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I am the Ginch. Early evening sports buffet with the Ginch. I am that, your host. I hope you enjoyed the NFL action yesterday. We are fast approaching 2025-2026 NHL season. Thanks to the gentleman for the theme music. But I'm just going to bring him on. There he is, ladies and gentlemen. Jim Jackson, voice of the Flyers. Jim, thanks so much for coming on. We are fast approaching the NHL season, my friend.
We are. I was rocking out to your music. I almost missed you putting me on. Yeah, no, the season's just about here. Actually, it seems like it's been a long camp, mainly because we haven't broadcast the game yet. So I'm just waiting. We finally do a game Thursday, but it's like, it's almost here, and it starts in a flurry for the Flyers with a pretty tough schedule, although the Panthers are a little bit compromised with some injuries, but still tough team, and then Winnipeg in there and Carolina. So some tough games to start, but looking forward to it.
Let's talk about the Flyers a little bit. Trevor Zegras comes over. He's going to try and capture a little bit of magic that he once had. Where's the Flyers team as we stand today? I know new regime, Tortorella was out. But look, I think they're on the cusp of making a playoff run, a wild card maybe. But where are we now with this particular team? I've been trying to follow the NHL's offseason as much as I can. My head spins sometimes with all the trades and XYZ. Where do we stand with the team right now? What do you think?
Well, they're still in a rebuild, and what they see as progress this year would be more progress from individual players. They're younger players getting better. Both Danny Briere, Keith Jones spoke before training camp and said that a playoff spot isn't necessarily part of the rebuild this year. I might be leaning a little bit toward it being part of it, because if they're going to get a big name free agent to come here, it might be nice to have a playoff berth in your back pocket for a young and rising team, as opposed to being 6 straight years out of the playoffs. But I'm not sure even if any of those big name free agents are going to get to market next year. One just signed today, so we'll see about that. But bottom line is, it's a slow process. They've made no bones about the fact that it was going to take a while. They have accumulated a lot of good young talent. They have one of the youngest teams in the league. If they get some more saves this year and their special teams are a little bit better, they'll make the playoffs. Those are 2 big ifs. But if they get that, they weren't far away from the playoffs. In fact, went down to the last game of the year 2 years ago, and with even mediocre goaltending down the stretch. That year they make the playoffs. Last year their goaltending was at .873, I believe, was their final save percentage. That's historically low, so hard to win hockey games with that. So if they get that save percentage up to .898, somewhere a .900 would be great, but they get it up there somewhere in that range, and then get the power play to contribute a little bit. And I think the power play will be better this year. I think this team can make the playoffs, and that would, I think, accelerate the rebuild.
Who is going to be in goal for the Flyers day one?
Wasn't really a question, I don't think, going into camp. It was going to be Sam Ersson, and I still think it's going to be Sam Ersson. But I will say that Vladar, who they acquired as a free agent in the offseason, Vladar has been really good. Solid. Hasn't played much. They've only played 2 games apiece, but even in the drills and so forth, Vladar has looked really good. He's a huge goalie. Kind of just lets the puck come to him. And so I think at this point it's still going to be Sam Ersson, but they're each going to get a start here in the last 2 preseason games. And if one of them really outperforms the other, it'll be that guy, I think. I don't think that it's set in stone that it's Sam Ersson. If Vladar really plays well in his remaining exhibition game and Sam struggles a little, I wouldn't be shocked to see Vladar as the starter on opening night. I mean, you got to go with the goalie that's hot.
Where are we defensively with the Flyers?
Well, defensively is a good question. The top 4 is pretty well set. They have Travis Sanheim and Cam York. Nick Seeler can play with Jamie Drysdale. But they were hoping for some of the other players, the younger ones perhaps, and even some of the veterans to kind of jump in this training camp to take the 5 and 6 spots. They're not the most important players in the team. 5 and 6 in the D-corps don't usually get a lot of ice time, but you like to have them performing well if somebody goes down, or maybe have them contribute on the special teams. And really, none of them have really popped Adam Yinning has actually played well enough to still be here, former second-round pick. So he's in the mix, surprisingly. Guys like Helge Grans and Emil Andre are not here anymore. Those were guys that were being talked about at the start of camp as young guys who might make the leap, but they've already been sent back to Lehigh Valley of the American Hockey League. So you've got Yegor Zamula, who's a veteran. You have acquired veterans, Noah Juleson and Gilbert. They also picked up. And so you have these guys that you're trying to see which one of, or two really of those four. And really you're going to have a guy as a reserve as well. So really three of that group will have to probably make the team. And that's going to be determined in these last two preseason games. They do have, it was very unfortunate, Oliver Bonk, one of their top prospects, got injured just as rookie camp was getting underway. So he didn't participate in training camp. As it's developed and some of these veterans didn't really pop, Oliver Bonk might have had a chance of making this team, but he was not on the ice, so that's not going to happen. And then some of the other young guys like Hunter McDonald and so forth didn't really jump out. So it looks like it's going to be some of those veterans, and they're going to have to figure out a way to make it mix. And, of course, in November, they're expected to get Rasmus Ristolainen back, so he'll be slotted into the top four, maybe top six. But that'll lengthen the depth a little bit once they get him back.
As far as the lines go, as far as offensive power, where do the Flyers need to improve from last year? Talk to me about the lines.
Well, the line that was together last year that actually rated right up at the top of the NHL in terms of the analytics, the expected goals, the way they push play and so forth, was the line centered by Noah Cates with Tyson Forster and Bobby Brink. Those three are still together so far in camp. They look great. They had a preseason game last night. They scored. Forster had an injury in the offseason. There was talk he was going to miss the first part of the season, but he's back, cleared for contact, played his first preseason game last night, so he looks good to go. That line, I would think, would stick together. They were so good last year. Why not? Then it gets a little dicey because who do you put with Matvei Michkov? He's looked good on the line with Christian Dvorak, one of the free agent signees, playing on the wing. And Trevor Zegras, the other big acquisition in the offseason via trade, in the middle. And that line did play in a preseason game and looked pretty good. So there's a possibility that's a line. That leaves you with still Sean Couturier, Travis Konechny, Owen Tippett. So maybe they're on a line together. And then you've got perhaps a fourth line. Garnet Hathaway will be on that line in some way. Nikita Grabenkin's one of the young forwards who has played well. He could be in that mix somewhere. And then the wild card is Jet Luchenko, their first-round pick from a couple of years back, who, if he makes the team, he would be a center most likely. They could play him on the wing, but where would he be? Who would he play with? That would make it quite interesting. Now, Luchenko's had a decent camp. He hasn't really popped, but on the other hand, he had a groin injury, didn't start really getting into skating until about 2 days before camp, and you could see him progressing. He's getting better as camp goes along. So if they feel as though he's ready, he's only 19, but if they feel as though he's ready, then that gives you four pretty good centers. You can actually move Dvorak, who can play center, over to the wing, or you move Luchenko over to the wing, and we'll see where it goes. Rodrigo Abels has been one of their best forwards in camp. He's a veteran that they brought over last year. He did get some time with the big club last year, but now he's back with the team, and he's played in every single preseason game, and he's played pretty well in all of them. So he might make it maybe as the extra forward or maybe as the fourth line center. Still questions to be answered, really, Brian. I mean, only 2 preseason games left, but I just gave you some of the questions. The 5 and 6 spots in D are still up for grabs a little bit. Maybe the 4C is up for grabs. The goaltending, I don't know if it's up for grabs, but might be getting a little interesting. So still some things to be determined here through these last 2 preseason games.
This is according to dailyfaceoff.com. These are the projected lines for the Flyers as they see it. And then I will diverge to you to comment. They got the top line being Forrester, Couturier, and Konechny. Second line,
they haven't skated together at all. But, yeah.
Second line, Tippett, Zegras, and Michikov. Third line, Grabenkin, Cates, and Brink. And then the fourth line, Bump, Dvorak, and Hathaway. What say you?
Well, Bump's already been sent down. So
right.
I can tell you that those lines will not work, at least to start the year. I will also say that the way lines change, we could see all those lines at some point during the year. I don't think they're going to start that way. Tippett, Zegras, and Michkov would be all offense. Those are three really offensive players. You usually need to have at least one player in the line with a defensive conscience who can be the defensive conscience of the line. I don't think they're going to break up the Cates line anyhow, which you said right off the top that Forster wasn't going to be that with that line. It's been so good. Now, Rick Tocchet may feel as though he needs to spread that wealth a little bit, but they are just they basically clinically use puck support so well. I don't know why you would ever mess with that. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? So we'll see. I would guess those lines are not right, though. Alex Bump has already been sent down. He was a group of players that was sent down this afternoon. It was a tough thing. He came into camp with a real good chance to make the team, and he just didn't have a great camp. So he's a very talented player. I still think he's going to be an NHL player and a good one, but he's got some things to learn in the AHL. So I don't think those lines are correct based upon that alone.
Defensive pairings. They got the top defensive pairing is York and Sanheim.
It's possible.
Then it's Sealer, Drysdale, and then
very possible.
Zamula and Grans.
Grans has already been sent down.
So,
yeah, daily faceoffs usually pretty good about adjusting those as news breaks. So they're unless you got those before the guys were sent down today. If you got those lines, are you getting them right now, or did you get them earlier?
This is as of September 26th, so they haven't updated anything.
So. Helge Grans was another one expected to make a push for the big club, but he was sent down, cleared waivers today, so he will not be part of it. It's really down to veterans like Noel Juleson, and it's really Juleson, Gilbert, Zamula in the mix for that last spot. I'm forgetting somebody else. There's four players, but not Helge Grans. Adam Yinning is the other one. So those four, I think, are battling for maybe 3 spots, as I said earlier. It's possible you could go with 8D, and all 4 of those players could make the team, and then you only have 1 extra forward. So they could all make the team, but it's not going to be Helge Grans. He was sent down today.
What potential moves are you looking for from the front office, if they make any, as far as to bolster the lineup?
Yeah, I mean, Danny has said it all along that the players will tell them what moves are to be made. In other words, how they're playing, how they're performing. If the team is in the race for a playoff spot, I don't think this year that they will sell as they have the last 2 years. If they're completely out of it, of course, you have to sell. You have to gain some assets at that point, and that's what they would do. But if they're in the race, 2 years ago, they were very much in the race. In fact, they held a playoff position for something like 148 days of the season, but they did not. At the trade deadline, they traded Sean Walker, a defenseman, and they got a first-round pick for it. So you understand why they did it, but he was missed. The team was immediately struck, of course, with injuries on defense, and they ended up very shallow back there. They lost Carter Hart. He left the team that year, so the goaltending got hit, and they missed the playoffs. So this year, I think if they're in the same situation where they're in a playoff spot or very close, within a couple points or so of a playoff spot, I would envision them not selling. I don't think they're going to go out and get an old veteran to come in necessarily. They may go out and get a younger veteran to help the mix. If they can find somebody who wouldn't be just a rental, they may do that. But I don't see them selling at the deadline if they're in the race. That would be. They said that the rebuild has moved from the subtraction part to the addition part. And so that's what I think they're referring to.
As currently constructed, where do you see this Flyers team going?
I mean, I've thought they were going to make the playoffs each of the last 2 years, but I also thought their goaltending would be much better than it was. And I also thought that they'd finally figure out the power play a little bit, especially with Matvei Michkov arriving last year. Well, now they have Trevor Zegras and Matvei Michkov and a healthy Jamie Drysdale and so many other weapons. A maturing Tyson Forster who might become a power play weapon. Cam York's going to be part of the power play, I believe, this year. Might be the second team, but he's still going to be part of the power play. I think he's going to help. So I again think the power play will be better. I mean, it's been the last 4 years, last, third from last. It's got to get better, right? I think. So if that gets better, and then again, as we said earlier, they get just respectable goaltending, I think they can absolutely make the playoffs. They have a very talented group of forwards. A lot of people, it's almost in style to say the Flyers lack, big league elite talent. up front. They just do not. They have several really good players. I mean, Travis Konechny, Matvey Michkov, Trevor Zegras, Tyson Forster, Owen Tippett are highly, highly skilled players. Noah Cates, Bobby Brink, some of these other guys are really good complementary players. So there's plenty of talent on hand. Rubenkin could be a surprise as an addition now as a rookie who could really help out. If Jatlachenko makes the team and really, speed and playmaking ability, he could really change it. And Christian Dvorak, a pickup, does a lot of things well. They have plenty of upfront talent. Their top level D is fine. They don't have that elite all-star defenseman necessarily. Travis Sanheim did play for the Four Nations team last year. Is certainly under consideration for the Canadian Olympic team this year. He's very good. Cam York will, I think, be much better this year. The Drysdale-Sealer pair worked well last year. So those top four, they do have questions beyond that on D. But really, it does come down to, can Sam Ersson grab the wheel and run with it for the Flyers in goal? And if not, can Vladar maybe help him, or the two be a 1-1A, or however it works? If they get better goaltending, this team should, in my opinion, make the playoffs. But when I say that, by looking at the team, it's great. Then I look at the standings and I look at the teams in the Eastern Conference, and it's tough to find all the teams that aren't going to make the playoffs. It's that time of year. Everybody looks good, so it's not going to be easy by any stretch of the imagination, but I certainly think they'll give it a run.
A couple of more things. I'll get you out of here. What do you think about the Kaprizov signing?
Well, I mean, it's a lot of money. It's $17 million per year, which I think might affect the other free agents that are out there. The well-known free agent, of course, is Connor McDavid, but Jack Eichel is out there. You've got Marty Necas, Kyle Connor, who might really be impacted by this because he's a winger. Artemi Panarin. There's some really, really skilled players set to be free agents next year that this kind of sets the bar, at least for the center or for the forwards, the wingers. I'm not sure it'll affect McDavid and Eichel as much as centers, but it'll be quite interesting to see. But that's a lot of money for 8 years, 17 million. Richest contract out there that probably will be beaten by McDavid or Eichels, but bottom line is he wanted in the long run to stay in Minnesota. They offered him 16. It wasn't quite enough, but 17 was. So I wish I had those decisions to make in my life. But, he's a great player. Last year, he was really the Hart Trophy leader through about the first third of the season, and then he got hurt. Part of why Minnesota really tailed off. They had several injuries, and he was the biggest of them. But great player, and I think that's the way you're going to see this go now with the salary cap increasing in the NHL. You're going to see some of these mega deals. I know you're going to see a mega deal. Not sure how long it'll be for Connor McDavid if he does re-sign in Edmonton. Jack Eichel, not hearing a lot about him re-signing in Vegas, but if either of those two get out of the open market next year, this contract will become at least the second highest paid contract out there because those guys are franchise centers. Generational centers, and especially in McDavid's case, but Eichel's not far behind it. Eichel has a cup and McDavid doesn't. So they're both guys that you can build around. So if any of these players we just talked about get to free agency next year, it's going to be quite interesting. And what Kaprizov's contract does is kind of set the bar. And now we'll see if some of these other guys sign before they become free agents.
A couple other things I saw. I see that the Maple Leafs and Stolars reached a 4-year, $15 million extension. Look, the narrative on the Leafs is always, can they get over the hump? I thought they had the roster last year to get over the hump. Again, it didn't work out. I thought maybe they should have blown it up there in Toronto and maybe started over. So what say you about the Maple Leafs and the Stolars signing and the Maple Leafs in general?
Well, I feel like they've had enough talent to do it for several years. But they had the core four, and it's gone now with Mitch Marner having gone to Vegas. So it's a different time. I mean, goaltending has at times been blamed up there, but really their core four, they hadn't produced as much as they need to in crunch time in the playoffs either. So it'll be. I mean, for that signing, I feel great for Anthony Stolars because he's a local guy. He's from Jersey. He obviously was drafted by the Flyers. And he's one of the nicest guys around, so I feel good. This is a guy who was considered a career backup as recently as 3 years ago, And now he's clearly a number one, and a number one that can get a good sized contract. So good for him. Happy for him. And now the spotlight is on in Toronto, and it is quite a spotlight. So we'll see how it goes. Austin Matthews certainly has some pressure on him. And Nylander, all of what's left of the core, they certainly have pressure on them. And we just see if they can pull through with it. Craig Berube's the right guy to have as a head coach. If he can't get it done, I'm not sure who will, because he's a very under control coach, which is what they need in Toronto. I don't think he lets all the media stuff bother him one bit. So we'll see. We'll see where they go. It would be so apropos for them to lose Mitch Marner and then finally make a long run in the playoffs. That's the way sports run sometimes.
Sort of like when Bryce Harper left the Nationals to go to the Phillies, and then the following year, the Nationals win the World Series.
That's right. But Bryce is going to get his World Series trophy this year. So,
okay. McTavish and the Ducks agreed to a 6-year, $42 million deal. What say you about that particular deal?
Well, that was one everybody was keeping an eye on. He came out with the comments recently about how much he's going to miss Trevor Zegras, his best buddy. So people started talking, hey, maybe you can go to Philadelphia. They have a need for center. But Anaheim's putting together a really good young nucleus out there. McTavish is a really good player. He's not the fastest player out there, but he's really a determined center, creative. And has played well for them. Dropped off a little last year, but this is a guy who is, they've got a lot of pieces that they're building around. Leo Carlson, Cutter Gauthier, some of these guys, and he's a really talented young defense core as well. So, and a young goalie, Dostal. So it's a young group with Joel Quenneville as the head coach now, who's a veteran coach. It'll be interesting to see how he can drive a really young team like that and see how he does with it. But that's a team to watch this year for sure. McTavish is a big piece.
And look, you never hate to see people get hurt, but Barkov having the surgery on his ACL, MCL, big loss for the Panthers. But look, Florida's been the juggernaut the last 2-3 years. I know it's a big loss, but other people have to step up. So I'm going to ask you, as we stand here now and today, do you think the Panthers make a 4th straight Stanley Cup final?
So you're not even asking me if they win a 3rd straight Stanley Cup. You're just saying, will they make a 4th straight final? Either is an unbelievable accomplishment. I don't think so. Barkov is a huge, huge loss. They don't have Kachuk for the first half. I think he'll be back for crunch time, but then he goes over, plays in the Olympics. Who knows what happens when he comes back, because he's had this kind of a chronic thing going on the last couple of years. But Barkov he's if you're up a goal late in the game, he's out there. If you're down a goal late in the game, he's out there. He's one of the best all-around players in the NHL. There are people out there who would take him over Connor McDavid if you had one game to win and needed one player. He's that good of an all-around player. So that's a heavy loss. For me, I don't think they're that much better than the competition. Then you put into the fact that they set an NHL record for the most games played over the last 3 years going to the Stanley Cup Finals. There's got to be some wear and tear on some of these players. They've played a lot of hockey. They have an older goalie in Sergei Bobrovsky. Not sure about, what's backing him up anymore. So, Florida to me has enough kinks now that in the armor that, I'm just not 100% sure that they can do it. So if you're asking me yes or no, I would say no. I wouldn't be shocked if they do it, but I certainly would not expect them to do it.
Who makes it out of the East? Who makes it out of the West?
Well, the East is, it's not as most people feel the West is more stacked, but the East has some teams on the rise. And so it's going to be really interesting to see. They have like teams like we talked about with Toronto that could be on the bounce back and could really bounce back with a lot of velocity and shoot right up the top. And then you have, obviously, everyone was aiming for Florida. You have Tampa Bay looking to kind of bounce back. And then you have the up-and-coming teams. The Devils, if the Jack Hughes stays healthy, how good are they? Ottawa's on the upswing. Montreal's on the upswing. Washington came out of nowhere last year. Are they able to repeat that? The Rangers must bounce back. They have a great head coach now, Mike Sullivan. I have a tremendous amount of respect for him as a head coach. I think he will do some things there in New York. They They have some things going on. The general manager kind of ticked off the players last year, and I think Sullivan's the kind of guy who can get around that, and they certainly have enough talent. But to say which team, since I've already said Florida is not going to be that team, and I haven't made a prediction yet anywhere, and I've done a zillion of these podcasts, but I've not been forced to make a prediction yet. I'm going through it in my mind right now. Which team would I say is going to make it out of the East if it's not Florida? It's hard to say anybody. There's holes in Tampa. There's holes in pretty much all the teams. I guess I'd go Carolina.
Okay.
They've been there consistently in the playoffs under Rodney Brindamore. They've won a playoff round in 7 straight years, which doesn't happen. They just haven't gotten past the second round. And they, get to the conference final. They can't get past the conference final sometimes. They just can't get over the hump to get to the final. But they've added some more players. They've added Nikolai Ehlers, who fits in with their system perfectly. If they can get the goaltending, Brindamore's a great coach. Their system is unbelievable. They play their system to the hilt. I think maybe this could be their year. I think the other teams, the key teams, the team that beat them last year, Florida, have maybe dropped off just enough that Carolina might be able to slip up there. I'll say Carolina.
And out in the West?
Out West is so difficult. Can Edmonton do it again? They haven't changed their goaltending. The McDavid thing, at least for now, is sitting over them. They got rid of some players. They're relying on a couple of young guys and guys like Mangiapane and some guys who, not sure how they're going to fit in. So I think maybe they take a slight step back. I like Vegas. It's a good team. They've got Marner now. They've got a lot of talent. If their goaltending holds up, I might go with Vegas. I'm not as Winnipeg is Jonathan Taves. Is he going to have a major impact with that team? Dallas, very talented. Got rid of Pete DeBoer as the head coach. I'm not so sure that's not going to set them back. He's an outstanding coach. I know things got weird there for them in the conference finals last year, and he pulled the goaltender and all the things that were said. They felt they had to fire him, but Pete DeBoer wins, and he gets teams deep in the playoffs. So can Glenn Gulletson take that team as far as Pete DeBoer did? I have my doubts. We'll see. Very talented club, but I'm not sure that they can get there. I guess I'll go Vegas. Marner's got to help them. They're loaded. They will miss Pietrangelo on the back line. He was a big part of their D, so they have to figure out a way to make up for his loss, and that's not easily done at all. But I'm again not being pressed to do this. I look at that team, and I guess I'd say they're the best of the West right now. Of course, one injury to Jack Eichel, and that changes.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Before I let you go, I picked Winnipeg out of the West the last couple of years.
They're talented.
It always seems like they catch a playoff cold or a fever. Hellebuck is always fantastic during the regular season, Jim, but when they get to the playoffs, they always seems like it's like there's a weight on their shoulder that they carry around with them, and they can't get it off their shoulders. I don't understand it. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's a playoff virus when it comes to that particular team. But
last year they were lucky to get past the first round. If you remember that miracle win in Game 7 against St. Louis. But the other team I didn't mention that I should is Colorado, because they are loaded. They've fixed their goaltending. Really talented teams out west. When you're talking about Colorado and Dallas and Winnipeg, Vegas, Edmonton, I mean, those are really talented teams. I'm forgetting another one, but those are really talented clubs. Any of them could go on a run. But in some cases, especially in the Central Division, you have to win 3 series to get to the finals against 3 great teams. Look at Dallas last year. They have to beat Colorado in the first round. Then you get Winnipeg. Then you move on. I mean, you talk about having a tough road. And then Edmonton, maybe not quite as tough out of the Pacific, where you have Edmonton and Vegas as your clear number 2. Minnesota with Kaprizov signed, they'll probably get a bump. St. Louis feels they're on the upswing. Utah's getting a lot of pub as a team that'll be much improved. So the West is absolutely loaded. But push come to shove, I'll go Vegas.
screen froze a little bit. He should be coming back on here in a minute.
Colorado would be maybe my second choice. All right, there I am.
Right, there he is.
Vegas it is.
Vegas and Carolina.
I'm using landline here. Usually it doesn't do this. I'm surprised.
I don't know. Me and technology don't mix. There always seems to be some sort of glitch per show that I have to deal with. But ladies and gentlemen, that's
I've never looked better than when the screen went black. So
the golden voice of the Flyers. Jim, thanks for coming on throughout the season. I might have to pick your brain. So
that is perfectly fine. You are not the guy that I had the Howie Roseman discussion with, right?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Yes.
No. Wasn't
because
that was not me.
I've done a whole bunch of podcasts, many now this time of year, of course. And I'm waiting. I keep asking everybody, "Are you the one? Are you the one?" One that I did, he thinks Howie Roseman's a terrible GM, and I have not been able to do a show with him since they won the Super Bowl. And I mean, I just don't see how you can look at the job Howie Roseman has done with the Eagles and say he's not a good GM. I mean, he's won a Super Bowl, retooled with a new coach, new quarterback, and won another Super Bowl. And they're always in the running, and they're always adding players. I mean, I think most teams in the NFL are envious of the Eagles about Howie Roseman. And this guy from an Eagles supporter thinks he's a bad GM. I'm like, are you kidding me? He's not going to be perfect.
Well,
drafts haven't been perfect. No GM's perfect, but for what he's done in this, basically he was cast aside. Remember when Chip Kelly came in, he was cast aside basically. And for what he's done since then, I think he's right there along with the offensive line coach, two of the most important people in that Eagles chain because they just keep winning.
Again, ladies and gentlemen, that's Jim Jackson. Jim, thanks for coming on, my man.
Anytime, Ryan. Pleasure.
All right, thank you. Jim Jackson, ladies and gentlemen. I forgot to ask him about my Blackhawks, by the way, but we all know where the Blackhawks are headed. The Blackhawks are probably headed for purgatory again. But I haven't talked to Jim in a little while, so I always appreciate his time when he comes on. Let me go to some other news and notes from around the world in sports today, as they always do. Tyreek Hill's agent said that his surgery went well and that he will return to play in 2026. No matter what you think about Tyreek Hill, you never want to see that type of injury. So hopefully a speedy recovery. WNBA's Nephesia Collar, Minnesota Lynx, she has blasted Commissioner Kathy Engelbert of being a bad leader. Said she is negligent in her governance. Reported by Myron Medcalf, Espen. Collier said that our leadership's answer to being held accountable to suppress everyone's voices by handing out fines. I'm not concerned about a fine. I'm concerned about the future of our sport. At some point, everyone deserves to hear the truth from someone who I hope has earned the benefit of the doubt and fight for what is right and fair for our athletes and our fans. We have the best players in the world. We have the best fans in the world, but right now we have the worst leadership in the world. If I didn't know exactly what the job entailed, maybe I wouldn't feel this way, but unfortunately for them, I do. We serve a league that has shown they think championship coaches and Hall of Fame players are dispensable, and that's fine. It's professional sports, but I will not stand quietly by and allow different standards to be applied at the league level. A lot of WNBA players feel this way. I've seen other comments. So the NBA is in a little bit of discourse right now. Steve Kerr said that he is going to wait until after the season to address a new deal. Reported by Anthony Slater of Espen. Kerr said, I'm very comfortable going into the season with a year left on my deal. I'm so aligned with General Manager Mike Dunleavy and owner Joe LaCobb. We talked about this. There's no reason for discussion or concern. This is kind of a point in our relationship. Well, let's just see how it is at the end of the year. I suspect that Steve Kerr will probably be somewhere else next year, or maybe he'll retire. Major League Baseball playoffs, ladies and gentlemen, kicked off. Chicago earlier today beat the Padres in game 1, 3-1. They lead that series 1-0. Detroit beat the Guardians 2-1. Detroit leads that series 1-0. Right now, top of the third, Yankees up on top of Boston 1-0. More WNBA news. The Dallas Wings have fired Chris Koklanis after going 10-34 this year. You remember last year they finished 9-31 under former coach Patricia Trammell. The Wings have issues organizational wise. In that Detroit win over the Guardians, Skubal fanned 14. More WNBA news. No, not WNBA news. This is Major League Baseball news. The Angels have fired Ron Washington. He won the World Series with the Rangers a while back. So he is out. And we already went over the Kaprizov deal on the NHL. NFL news. I could not. I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning for work every day. I cannot stay up for Monday Night Football anymore. I can maybe make it to halftime. In the early window, the Dolphins beat the Jets 27-21. Nothing's changed with the Jets, by the way. I thought maybe they would push for a wild card. I was probably wrong. But it didn't look good for the Jets. Tyreek Hill for the Dolphins with just god-awful injury. For the Jets, Justin Fields was 20-27, 226 yards, a touchdown, no picks. He did fumble, though. He and Breece Hall each ran the ball for 81 yards apiece. Garrett Wilson, 6 catches, 82 yards, and a touchdown. Jamie and Sherwood, 10 total tackles. For the Dolphins, Tua was 17-25, 177, 2 touchdowns. More importantly, no picks. Devin A-Chain, 20 carries, 99 yards, and a touch. Tyreek Hill, before he exited, 6 catches, 67 yards. Leading tackler for Miami, Jordan Brooks, have a day, 18 total tackles. You go to the team stats. Again, when you turn it over no times and your opponent turns it over 3 times, you're going to win a football game most times. And that's basically what happened. And it didn't help the Jets were penalized 13 times for 101 yards either. So you turn it over 3 times, you're constantly penalized, you lose. Jets are 0-4, the Dolphins 1-3. And then my pick from the AFC to make the Super Bowl, Cincinnati Bengals. That was with Joe Burrow intact. The Bengals, ladies and gentlemen, are in trouble. Jake Browning is not the solution. Maybe they trade for Jameis Winston. Maybe they trade for Russell Wilson. Maybe they trade for Shedeur Sanders. But the Bengals looked horrible last night. And the Broncos seem to have righted the ship a little bit. But for the Bengals, Jake Browning was 14-25, 125 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. Chase Brown, 10 carries, 40 yards. They collectively ran the ball 15 times for 53 yards. That's not good. Cincinnati receiving was no better. T. Higgins, 3 catches, 32 yards. Their leading receiver. Leading tacklers were Demetrius Knight Jr. and Geno Stone with 10 apiece. Bo Nix was 29-42, 326 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. J.K. Dobbins, good day, 16 carries, 101 yards. Denver ran the ball 38 times for 186 yards. Portland Sutton, 5 catches, 81 yards at a tutty. Alex Singleton, 11 total tackles. Team stats. Yeah, when you outrush your opponent almost 4-1, you're going to win the game. Bengals were 2-11 on third down, pungent. The Broncos were 8 of 14. So it was an ass whooping. Bengals are 2-2, Broncos 2-2. But look, Steelers are 3-1, the Bengals are 2-2. Baltimore has their issues, and Cleveland stinks. So the division's up for grabs. Some of the NFL news I went over yesterday. Looks like Brock Purdy has another toe issue after the loss to the Jags. Of course, the Giants wide receiver Malik Neighbors, he is out for the season with a torn ACL, which is what they feared anyway. Major League Baseball, again, New York Yankees up on top of the Red Sox, 1-0. WNBA kicks back in tomorrow. The Fever are at the Aces. That is tied 2 apiece. And this will be I believe that's the last game. Yes. Is that the last game? Yeah. No, I lie. Way ahead of myself. Winner of the Aces and the Fever play the Phoenix Mercury, set the WNBA Finals, set the kickoff this Friday. NBA news, Kuminga and the Warriors reached a 2-year, $48 million deal. So good for him. See what the Warriors do this year. And the other news I went over in the last couple of days anyway. NHL preseason, like Jim Jackson said, there are only 2 more preseason games left for a bunch of these teams. Today, 7 o'clock, dropping the puck will be the Panthers at the Lightning, Capitals at the Blue Jackets, Canadiens at the Senators. At 8 p.m., the Red Wings at the Blackhawks, Golden Knights at the Avalanche, Jets at the Wild, Stars at the Blues, and the Kings at the Mammoth. So I think I'm going to end it there. Again, thanks to Jim Jackson for coming on. Again, if you want to tune over and watch the Yankees Red Sox wild card round, again, bottom of the third, Yankees up on the Red Sox, 1-0. Again, thanks for him coming on. As I end each show, practice compassion, practice empathy, have passion for what you do. Hug somebody every once in a while, you might make their day. Tell somebody you love them. You might not get a second opportunity. And for God's sakes, if you see somebody struggling, inquire, ask. If you see somebody being bullied, or someone's really alone, ask. You might not just be saving a life, you might be saving multiple lives. So with all that being said, there's only one thing left to do, and that's for Dandy Don Meredith, to take me out.
Turn out the lights, the party's over. They say that all good things must end. call it a night. The party's over, and tomorrow and next year starts the same old thing again.